I did not expect them to show up that day. When I purchased the house overlooking the coast, I did not tell anyone in my family. Not my father. Not Victoria. Not even Paige. I signed the documents quietly, transferred the funds personally, and finalized every detail without seeking approval. For 15 years, I had lived as the accommodating daughter, the reasonable one, the one who adjusted when Victoria rearranged holidays, redirected conversations, and slowly rewrote family traditions to center herself. I learned to smile through it. I learned to nod. I learned to remain quiet. But silence does not mean weakness. The house was not simply property. It was proof. When the moving trucks arrived, I posted one single photograph online. Nothing dramatic. Just the view from the balcony at sunset, the ocean dissolving into gold and copper tones. The caption read, "New beginnings." Victoria called within 20 minutes. "I did not realize you were relocating," she said, her voice controlled, almost pleasant. "I did not realize I needed permission," I replied. There was a pause long enough to measure. "Well," she continued, "we should come see it. Your father will want to inspect the place." Inspect. As if I were still 17 and asking to borrow the car. "You are welcome to visit," I said evenly. Saturday, 3 o'clock. After I ended the call, I walked through the house slowly. The marble floors reflected afternoon light. The open kitchen smelled faintly of fresh paint and citrus cleaner. The space felt expansive, quiet, self-contained. For the first time in years, nothing here had been influenced by Victoria's preferences. Saturday arrived with a sharp, cloudless sky. I wore something simple, but intentional. Not to impress them, to remind myself who I was. When their cars pulled into the driveway, I stood outside waiting. Victoria stepped out first. Of course she did. She removed her sunglasses slowly and studied the property as if calculating its worth in real time. Paige followed, scanning the architecture with open curiosity. My father lingered a moment before walking forward. "This is yours?" he asked. "Yes," I said calmly. "Entirely." Victoria's expression shifted just slightly. Not admiration. Not pride. Assessment. "We should take a look inside," she said, already moving toward the entrance. I did not stop her, because what none of them understood was that this visit was not about approval. It was not about validation. It was about revelation. And by the time they left that evening, something fundamental between us would shift. They believed they were coming to evaluate my life. They did not realize they were stepping into a demonstration. And I was no longer the accommodating daughter. I was the one in control of the door. They did not stay long that afternoon. Victoria toured the house like a real estate investor pretending to admire while quietly appraising resale value. She ran her fingers across the kitchen island. She inspected the crown molding. She asked questions that were not really questions. "How much did this cost you? Are you sure you can maintain something like this alone?" Every sentence was wrapped in concern and sharpened underneath. My father wandered toward the balcony and stood looking at the water. He seemed smaller than I remembered. Or maybe I was finally seeing clearly. Paige lingered near the hallway, studying the framed photographs I had chosen to hang. There were no family portraits, only landscapes, only proof of solitude. When they left, Victoria kissed my cheek lightly and said, "Just be careful. Big investments can become big mistakes." I smiled. "I am counting on that." 3 days later, my father knocked on my bedroom door at 10 o'clock at night. He did not knock like a man visiting casually. He knocked like someone who had rehearsed the motion. When I opened the door, his face looked drawn, but steady. The kind of steady that comes after denial collapses. He held a small wooden box. Walnut. Tarnished brass clasp. "I found this," he said quietly, stepping inside. "In Victoria's locked nightstand drawer." He paused. I was not searching for it. I was looking for my reading glasses. He set the box on my desk and opened it carefully. Inside were 2 folded sheets of yellowed paper. I recognized the handwriting instantly. My mother's. The looping lowercase letters. The way she crossed her T's with a slight upward lift, as if each word reached toward something better. The letter was dated 3 days before she died. "Bonnie, my brave girl," it began. "You do not need permission to live your life. You are enough. You have always been enough. Do not let anyone convince you otherwise." I read it twice before I could breathe normally again. Victoria had kept it hidden for 17 years. 17 years. My mother's final words to me had been locked away in the drawer of the woman who spent more than a decade quietly dismantling my confidence. We sat together in silence. My father did not apologize. He did not defend. He simply sat there, shoulders heavy, staring at the floor as if trying to understand how he had missed so much. "I did not know," he said finally. "I know," I replied. But knowing was not the same as excusing. Before he left my room, I folded the letter carefully and placed it inside my purse. I did not yet know how I would use it. I only knew I would not let it disappear again. That same night, as I walked down the hallway toward the porch, I heard Victoria's voice drifting through the screen door. "After the gala, we will transfer the deed," she said softly into her phone. "She will not even realize until it is finalized." The deed. My house. The house I purchased with 12 years of relentless work. I stood still in the dark, pulse steady instead of racing. This was not insecurity. This was intent. I returned to my room and set my alarm for 6 in the morning. For the first time in nearly 3 months, I slept without restlessness. Because clarity had replaced confusion. And clarity is far more dangerous than anger. June 14th arrived bright and windless, the kind of coastal morning that makes everything look deceptively clean. At 8 in the morning, I sat in Marcus Trent's office on East Bay Street. Floor-to-ceiling glass. Industrial brick. Quiet power. The manila envelope lay on the desk between us. We reviewed everything one final time. The forged property transfer deed. The forensic document report confirming the signature was simulated. The bank statements showing withdrawals from my father's retirement account. The supplemental credit card opened in his name, without consent. The limited liability company registered 2 years earlier under a variation of Victoria's maiden name. Each document was not an accusation. It was evidence. "Judge Holt has already been briefed," Marcus said. "The award presentation will pause before it is conferred." Victoria had no idea. At 2 in the afternoon, she emerged from the master bedroom wearing champagne silk and a diamond pendant that caught every available light source. She surveyed me in my black dress and pearl earrings with faint disappointment. "At least attempt to look like you belong there," she said. "Do not worry," I replied. "Tonight, everyone will see exactly where I belong." The ballroom at the Belmont Charleston Place was designed for legacy. Crystal chandeliers, ivory drapery, white peonies on every table, 220 guests, judges, attorneys, legislators, developers. Reputation was oxygen in that room. Victoria moved through the crowd flawlessly. She laughed at the right volume. She placed her hand gently on influential forearms. She practiced humility with professional precision. She sat at table 1. I sat at table 18 near the service entrance. That placement was intentional. At table 12 sat Helen Briggs. Silver hair, linen blazer, composed. At 8:30, the master of ceremonies tapped the microphone.
Victoria Stratton.
Judge Raymond Holt rose instead. "Before we proceed," he said evenly, "we must address a matter requiring immediate attention." The room shifted. Under the association's bylaws, any substantiated allegation of financial misconduct must be reviewed before an honor is awarded. "A formally documented complaint has been filed," he continued, "supported by forensic analysis and sworn testimony." Murmurs.
Victoria stood.
"This is absurd," she said, calibrated outrage in her tone. "Who filed this?" Judge Holt looked toward the back of the room. "Miss Bonnie Beckett has been invited to present her evidence." 220 heads turned. I stood. The walk from table 18 to the stage felt longer than the 15 years that led to it. Each step echoed against polished hardwood. Victoria's voice cracked through the room. "Gerald, stop her." My father did not move. On stage, the light was unforgiving. I set the envelope down and took one slow breath. I did not come here to humiliate anyone, I began. I came because truth delayed becomes truth denied. The projection screen illuminated behind me. April 12, 2024. A transfer deed conveying ownership of my family's home to Hale Premier Properties, LLC. Assessed value, $1.2 million.
Signature, Gérald Beckett.
This signature, I said clearly, is not my father's. The side-by-side comparison appeared. The missing loop in the capital letter. The inconsistent pressure. The mechanical imitation. The forensic examiner's conclusion. Highest probability of simulated forgery. Silence descended, heavy and absolute. My father stood. I did not sign that document, he said. I did not authorize any transfer. Victoria's composure cracked for the first time. Tell them you signed it, she insisted. He shook his head slowly. I advanced to the next slide. For withdrawals totaling $380,000 from my father's retirement account, deposited into a savings account under the name V. Hale. An unauthorized credit card. Balance, $47,000. A separate trust account holding $215,000 disguised as household expenses. Total diverted, $1.842 million. Under South Carolina law, exploitation of a vulnerable adult is a felony. Victoria turned toward the room, tears arriving instantly. This is a misunderstanding, she pleaded. Family conflict does not belong here. Judge Holt's voice cut through. The award is revoked, effective immediately. Then Helen Briggs stood. She presented a certified divorce decree from 2009 citing dissipation of marital assets in a prior marriage to Victoria. A pattern. The room erupted in low conversation. Victoria stood alone between admiration and exposure. She looked around for support. None came. She picked up her clutch and walked toward the exit. Her heels struck marble with sharp finality. No one followed. For 15 years, she controlled every room. Tonight, the room chose something else. And for the first time, I did not feel small. The applause was not explosive. It was deliberate. That was worse for her. 220 people stood, not out of sympathy, not out of spectacle, but because they had just recalibrated their judgment in real time. Respect had shifted direction. My father joined me on stage, without speaking. He did not need the microphone. His presence beside me was the statement. We walked out together. Victoria did not. The drive back to the island took 23 minutes. My father stared straight ahead for most of it. The marshland passed in dark stretches under the bridge lights. Finally, he spoke. I will file for divorce on Monday. There was no drama in his voice. Only resolve. I know, I said. When we reached the house, Victoria's garment bags were still in the closet. Her monogrammed towels still folded in the guest bathroom. But she was gone. Her absence felt cleaner than her presence ever had. That night, my father's phone vibrated repeatedly. I heard it through the wall. He showed me the messages in the morning.
Please.
I can explain. You are making a mistake. This is Bonnie manipulating you. And finally, at 1:47 a.m., you will regret this. It was not a plea. It was a threat. By 9 o'clock the next morning, a local tabloid site ran a headline portraying Victoria as the victim of a public ambush. They quoted her. They described tears. They used words like blindsided and betrayed. The comment section divided quickly. Some believed her. Some called me cruel. For a brief moment, the old instinct surfaced. The urge to smooth things over. To clarify gently. To avoid appearing harsh. Then I remembered the locked drawer. I remembered the forged signature. Silence is not kindness. It is permission. Marcus called before noon. Do not respond publicly, he advised. Let documented evidence speak. That evening, a more reputable publication released a comprehensive investigative piece. The forged deed. The forensic report. The bank transfers. The prior divorce decree. Everything laid out with precision and no theatrics. Facts are less emotional than tears. They are also harder to dispute. Within 48 hours, corporate sponsors withdrew from Victoria's foundation. The Bar Association suspended partnerships. Coastal Heritage Bank froze the accounts linked to the unauthorized transfers. By Monday morning, my father filed for divorce citing fraud and dissipation of marital assets. That same afternoon, a formal criminal complaint was submitted to the sheriff's office. Forgery in the first degree. Exploitation of a vulnerable adult. Identity fraud. Each one a felony. Victoria hired a high-profile defense attorney within 72 hours. His first move was predictable: settlement. Return the money quietly. Close the accounts. End the spectacle. Marcus relayed the offer. I did not hesitate. No settlement, I said. The law exists for a reason. By early July, the audit of the foundation uncovered additional misappropriated funds disguised as administrative costs and event expenses. The revised total approached $2 million. The grand jury returned a formal indictment. Victoria surrendered herself at the courthouse. Bail was set. A GPS monitor was ordered. A restraining order prohibited contact with my father within 200 feet. The headlines shifted tone. Pattern replaced misunderstanding. Paige called that week. She was not angry this time. She was crying. Why did you have to do it like that? She asked. Because she was going to take everything, I replied. And because no one else would stop her. There was a long silence. Then she whispered, I know. That was the first honest word between us in years. After the call, I sat alone on the porch. The ocean sounded louder at night. Or perhaps I was finally quiet enough to hear it. I did not feel victorious. I felt lighter, like something that had been lodged under my ribs for 15 years had finally been removed. It hurt, but it was gone. And for the first time, I was not shrinking to keep anyone comfortable. 6 months later, the island looked the same. I did not. December wind moved differently across the Atlantic, sharper and cleaner. I sat on the same porch where everything had unraveled and rebuilt itself. The wooden boards beneath my feet, the salt in the air, the rhythm of the waves unchanged. But I was not the woman who once measured her words before speaking them. My father finalized his divorce in October. The settlement restored nearly every recoverable dollar. The house title was corrected. The fraudulent transfers were reversed where possible. Accounts were rebuilt. Credit lines repaired. More importantly, he began therapy. Every Thursday, he told me once, sitting beside me with 2 uneven plates of overcooked pasta he had insisted on making, I need to understand how I let someone stand between me and my own daughter for 15 years. That was accountability, not excuses. His cardiologist reported improvement in every measurable category. Blood pressure stabilized. Heart rhythm consistent. Stress markers reduced. Truth has physical consequences. So does denial. Victoria's trial was scheduled for March 2026. 4 felony counts remained.
Forgery. Exploitation.
Identity fraud. Misappropriation of charitable funds. If convicted, she faced 5 to 15 years. I did not track the headlines obsessively anymore. The spectacle had passed. What remained was process. Her defense attorney briefly floated the idea of a defamation countersuit against me. It never materialized. Evidence is not defamation. Paige began visiting once a month. Our first meetings were awkward.
No nostalgia.
No pretending we had always been close. She admitted she had seen more than she ever acknowledged. She admitted that comfort made her complicit. I chose what was easier, she said one afternoon, staring at her coffee cup. Yes, I answered. You did. We did not dramatize it. We did not minimize it either. Honesty is slow work, but it is real. I left Meridian permanently and founded Beckett Advisory Group, a modest office. Strategic consulting focused on governance and ethical oversight. My first clients included Douglas Wren's firm, the same man who shook my hand at the gala and recognized competence when he saw it. Revenue in the first quarter exceeded projections by 14%. That mattered, not because of money, because it proved I could build something clean. Every morning, I still read my mother's letter. You are enough. Always. For years, I thought being enough meant being agreeable. being quiet, being accommodating. It does not. It means refusing to shrink so someone else can feel powerful. It means choosing discomfort over dishonesty. It means accepting that some people will call you cruel when you stop tolerating manipulation. The house no longer feels like a battleground. It feels like ownership, not just of property, of self. On certain evenings, my father and I sit outside without speaking.
No tensión. No invisible hierarchy.
Just two adults rebuilding a relationship without interference.
Paige joins sometimes.
We are not effortlessly close. We are intentionally honest. That is better. When I look back at the gala, I do not remember the chandeliers or the applause. I remember the moment I stood up from table 18. The moment I stopped waiting for permission. The moment I understood that silence protects the wrong person. Freedom did not arrive loudly. It arrived the day I decided that my dignity was not negotiable. And now, every morning on this porch, watching the horizon stretch endlessly forward, I know something I did not know before. I was never asking for too much. I was asking for basic truth. And once I demanded it, everything changed. Not because the world became kinder, but because I stopped becoming smaller.